we lost Chuck Norris, martial arts fighter turned actor, and we lost Nicholas Brendon. Um, so Nicholas Brendon, if you don't know, he was in a couple different TV shows that were very popular: Criminal Minds and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Um, he was 54, but no cause of death was given for his death. And then Chuck Norris was 86, but no cause of death was given for him either. Some people said it was probably heart issues at 86, but who knows? So Nicholas Brendon was born Nicholas Brendon Schultz. He went by his first and middle name. He was born on April 12th of 1971, and he died on March 20th of 2026. Was an American actor, an artist, and a writer. He was best known for playing the character Xander in the television series on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which ran from 1997 to 2003, and then for playing the character Kevin Lynch in Criminal Minds, where he would appear on the show off and on from 2007 to 2014 before he eventually would leave the show. But the character Kevin Lynch was a computer hacker, and he was the love interest of Penelope Garcia, who works for the FBI as a computer analyst hacker. And they were supposed to be like boyfriend girlfriend on the show, and he eventually wanted to marry her, but she didn't want to marry him, and so they ended up breaking up because she didn't want to get married, but he did. Now, when it comes to the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Nicholas Brendon portrayed the character Xander for the 7 seasons, and he appeared in all but one show of the 144 episodes that the show aired. He only appeared in like 143, except for one of the episodes he didn't appear in. Now, for his performance, he received a Saturn Award nomination in 1998 and 1999 for Best Genre TV Actor, and in 2000 for Best Supporting Actor. He remained active with the Vampire Slayer fan community. He would regularly attend the comic and science fiction conventions, and he contributed to the development of Xander's character in the franchise's follow-up comic books, receiving writing credits on several different issues. Okay, Brendon continued to work steadily as an actor with recurring roles on television and starring parts in independent films such as Coherence and Big Gay Love, which both appeared in 2013. Um, he also pursued visual art, exhibiting and selling his paintings and photography. Brendon struggled for many years with alcohol and depression, which would contribute to a series of legal issues, including multiple arrests and convictions for vandalism, theft, and domestic violence. Supposedly, they have his death listed as natural causes at the age of 54, which is kind of young to die from that. Now, Nicholas Brendon Schultz was born on April 12, 1971 in Los Angeles, California, 3 minutes after his identical twin brother, which I didn't even know he had a twin brother. Okay. Now, as a child, Brendon hoped to become a professional baseball player, but he later said he lost the passion for it when he turned 20. And he turned to acting as a way to manage a stutter that he had. And that had first appeared when he was 7 or 8 years old. The condition made him reluctant to speak or interact with any strangers, and he stated that he did not begin dating until his 20s. Brendon describes working through his stutter with daily tongue twisters and deliberate pacing, noting that patience and persistence have paid off. He later worked with the Stuttering Foundation of America, which approached him around 2001 and served as honorary chairperson for the National Stuttering Awareness Week in May of that year. Now, Brendon would take a 2-year acting hiatus, stating that he couldn't stand the politics in Hollywood, but he subsequently returned to school to study medicine, although he did not complete the program, and he held a series of jobs, including a plumber's assistant, a janitor in a veterinary clinic, a daycare counselor, a waiter, and production assistant on the television series Dave's World before he ended up leaving that. At the age of 25, Brendon stated that he had hit rock bottom. His girlfriend had left him. He was working as a waiter and struggling to pay his rent, and he had nearly given up on finding any steady acting work, which a lot of actors, and I've noticed this myself, a lot of actors would basically struggle at first before they make it big. Um, that's the same thing that happened with Pacino. Same thing happened with Stallone. They all struggled to make it big and make it big at first until eventually, like before Al Pacino did Godfather, nobody knew who the hell he was until he did Godfather. Um, nobody knew who Sylvester Stallone was until he did the movie Rambo and Rocky. So yeah. So after he brought the one top truck to his coworkers, his boss fired him and told him, "You should be acting instead." He was drawn to the pilot script for Buffy the Vampire Slayer because of how much he had disliked high school. But he later said that the character of Xander Harris was based on Joss Whedon's own high school experiences, which he believes explained why the character gets all the good lines. Brendon signed with the manager and was cast as Xander 3 months later, and this was his best known work. This role was his best known work before he got into playing Kevin on the Criminal Minds show. He appeared on screen with it. Now Nicholas Brendon appeared on screen with his twin brother Kelly in the fifth season episode The Replacement, in which Xander is split into two versions of himself. For his performance as Xander, Brendon received Saturn Award nominations in 1998 and 1999 for best genre TV actor and in Chosen for best supporting actor. In 2014, he took part in the Writers' Summit for the Buffy the Vampire Slayer comics, alongside Joss Whedon, Jane Espenson, Drew Greenberg, Andrew Chambliss, and the incoming writer Crystal Gage. He contributed to the Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 10, working on stories focused on Xander. Today is a rest in peace video on Nicholas Brendon and Chuck Norris. If you know them, you can tell me if you know their names. But Chuck Norris was a martial arts fighter turned actor, and Nicholas Brendon was an actor who appeared on Buffy and Criminal Minds. After the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer ended in 2003, Brendon joined the cast of the Fox pilot The Pull at Maddie Breaks. Though the network did not pick up the series in 2004, he co-starred in the ABC family film Celeste in the City. And the following year, he returned to Fox as part of the cast of Kitchen Confidential, and which is based on Anthony Bourdain's memoir. Now, 13. I liked him on the TV. I like Chuck Norris on the TV show Walker Texas Ranger, and I liked him in Logan's War and The Line in the Sand. And then Breaker was pretty good, and so was Code of Silence. Now, in 2006, so 13 episodes were produced, but the series was canceled on December 9th after the fourth episode aired due to low ratings. In 2006, Brendon had a recurring role as a voice actor in the animated series American Dragon, known as Jake Long. That same year, he reunited with former Buffy the co-star Charisma Carpenter in the ABC family film Relative Chaos. Now, from July 26th to August 30th, 2006, Brendon co-starred with Noah Wiley in the play Lobster Alice in the Blank Theater Company in Los Angeles, and he later appeared in the Blank Theater Annual's Young Playwrights Festival, as well as its production of the Santa Land Diaries, which ran from November 20 to December 20, 2009, and Why Torture is Wrong and the People Who Love Them. In 2007, Brendon began a recurring role on Criminal Minds as FBI technical analyst Kevin Lynch. He appeared in episodes across the subsequent seasons, going up to season 10 before leaving. In late 2010, he launched the web comic Very Bad Koalas, which was co-created with animation director and producer Stephen Lauder. Now, the comic follows two sheltered koalas on the run from the law in the 1958 Cadillac Eldorado. He also appeared in 4 episodes of Private Practice as Lee McHenry, a mentally disturbed man who assaults Charlotte King. Also, a lot of actors will have a hobby outside of what they do. So Brendon, not only did he like acting, but he also had a career. He also, outside of that, he took up photography and painting, which were his 2 hobbies. Now, Brendon married his first wife, actress Tressa DeFiglia, in 2001, and they divorced in 2006. He enjoyed painting and photography and sold his own original artwork. At the Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan convention in Cleveland, in 2004, he announced that he had voluntarily entered rehab to um to try to get over his alcoholism that he had suffered from. In March of 2010, Brendon was tasered and arrested by Los Angeles police, who confronted him in response to a call about an intoxicated individual out in public. He allegedly swung his fist at the officers and attempted to run away. Of course, you cannot hit an officer. That's technically an arrest warrant right there for assaulting police. Um, he was later charged with 4 misdemeanors, including 1 count of resisting arrest, 2 counts of battery against a police officer, and 1 count of vandalism. In May of 2010, he again checked himself into rehab to address his addiction to alcohol and sleeping pills. Now, Brendon pleaded no contest to all 4 charges in June of 2010 and received a 1 year suspended jail sentence and 36 months of probation and 10 days of community service while participating in the Tree City Comic Con. Brendon was arrested on October 17th of 2014 in Boise, Idaho, hotel lobby for misdemeanor charges of malicious injury to property and resisting or obstructing officers. He would eventually issue a public apology, calling the incident embarrassing and he attributed it to his drinking alcohol while taking pain medication for a knee problem. But he had a history of violence, of arrest and everything. Now, this I never heard of. Now, Brendon, who suffered from something called Caba equino syndrome, which I've never heard of, I don't know what the fuck that is, underwent spinal surgery after a fall in February of 2021. Several days later, during a Facebook live stream from his hospital room, he addressed the allegation made by his former co-star Cruz McCarpenter against Joss Whedon, saying, "I love and support her very much, and I know that story. And it's not a kind story, even I'm not sure what the fuck he's talking about there." Um, so that is the end of Nicholas Brendon, and now we're going to go to Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris was born Carlos Ray Norris. I'm not sure where he got Norris. I'm not sure where he got Chuck from. Chuck Norris was an American martial arts actor, screenwriter, and author, and he had black belts in karate, taekwondo, tang soo do, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and judo. After serving in the United States Air Force, he won numerous martial arts championships and later found his own discipline, Kung Do. Norris began working in the American film industry as a martial arts instructor for celebrities before making his screen debut with a minor role on The Wrecking Crew. Friend and fellow martial arts fighter Bruce Lee invited him to play one of the main villains in The Way of the Dragon. While Norris continued acting, friend and student Steve McQueen suggested he take it seriously. And Norris took the starring role in the action film Breaker Breaker in 1977, which turned out to be a big profit for him. His second lead, Good Guys Wear Black, in 1978 became a big hit, and he soon became a popular action film star. And Norris went on to headline a series of commercially successful independent action and martial arts films, which included A Force of One, which came out in 1979, The Octagon in 1980, and Eye for an Eye in 1981, which elevated him to international fame. He later starred in studio productions such as Silent Rage in 1982, Force Vengeance, which also came out that same year in 1982, and Lone Wolf McQuade in 1983. His success led Cannon Films to sign him to a multi-picture deal action included Invasion USA in 1985, The Delta Force in 1986, and Firewalker in 1986. Now, outside of Cannon, he also starred in the movie Code of Silence in 1985, which was regarded as one of his strongest films made to date. In the 1990s, Norris played the title role in the long-running CBS series Walker Texas Ranger, which ran from 1993 to 2001. He continued to appear in action films until 2006, and his final major film role was in The Expendables 2, 2012. Beyond acting, Chuck Norris became a best-selling author of which dedicated his experience in martial arts, exercise philosophy, and conservative politics. Now, Christian Western fiction, self-help, and biography, and he wrote a regular column for World Net Daily. He appeared in numerous commercials, including as a longtime spokesperson for Total Gym. And there was like those infomercials that you'd see at late at night, and they were on TV, and it showed him talking about his Total Gym thing. In 2005, Norris became the subject of the Chuck Norris facts, an internet meme that humorously exaggerated his toughness abilities. He endorsed various products that incorporated it, and the phenomenon inspired multiple books, two on video games, and several talk show appearances. Now, Chuck Norris, like I said, was born Carlos Ray Norris. Um, on March 10th of 1940 in the town called Ryan, Oklahoma, to Wilma, which was his mother's name. His mother's name was Wilma Scarberry, who died in 2024. And it's not very often that you see people who are in the 70s or 80s and have their parents still alive. Chuck Norris, when Chuck Norris's mother died in 2024, Chuck Norris Chuck Norris was 84, and his mother was 103. And then you got Ray, and then his father Ray Norris was born in 1918 and died in 1971. His father was a World War II American was an Army veteran who later worked as a mechanic, bus driver, and truck driver to support his family. His mother was of Irish ancestry. His father had German, British, and distant Cherokee roots. Norris was named after Carlos Berry, his father's minister, and Chuck Norris was the oldest of three brothers, the younger two being Waylon, born 1943 and 1970, and his brother Aaron. Um, and when Norris was 16, his parents divorced. He later moved with his mother and brothers to Prairie Village, Kansas, and then to Torrance, California. Predicting his own death, Chuck Norris's brother Waylon told Chuck that he would not reach his 27th birthday. The prediction proved to be true when he was killed in the Vietnam War in 1970. Norris described his childhood as downbeat. He was not athletic at all. He was very shy and scholastically mediocre. His father worked intermittently as an automobile mechanic and went on drinking binges that lasted for months at a time. Embarrassed by his father's behavior and the family's financial difficulties, Norris developed a debilitated introversion that persisted throughout his childhood. In 1958, when Chuck Norris turned 18, he would eventually join the United States Air Force as an air policeman and was stationed at Osan Air Base in South Korea, where he would acquire the name Chuck and began training in Tang-Soo-do. After returning to the United States, he continued serving as an air policeman at the March Air Force Base in California. In August of 1962, he was discharged from the Air Force with the rank of Airman First Class while applying to become a policeman in Torrance, California. He opened his own martial arts studio and he began competing in tournaments. Now Chuck Norris lost his first two competitive bouts, dropping decisions to Joe Louis and Alan Steen, and later lost 3 rounds to Tony Tolmers at the International Karate Championships. He continued to improve, and he would eventually defeat fighters such as Vic Moran, winning the 1967 karate tournament after defeating 7 opponents, culminating in a final victory over Skipper Mullins. On June 24th, 1967, he won the S. Henry Cho's All-American Karate Championship at Madison Square Garden, taking the title from Julio Salazar and defeated Joe Louis. Now, during this period, Chuck Norris worked for the Northrop Corporation and opened the chain of karate schools. His first official it opened the chain of karate schools. So his official website listed Steve and Chad McQueen, Bob Barker, Priscilla Presley, and Donnie and Marie Elsman among his celebrity students, and he taught martial arts to. In early 1968, Norris suffered the 10th and final loss of his career, where he would end up losing in an upset decision to Luis Delgado. On November 24th, he avenged the loss and won the Professional Middleweight Karate Championship, a title that he would hold on for six straight years. Now, on November 1st of 1968, he successfully defended his All-American Karate Championship title in a round robin tournament at the Karate Tournament of Champions of North America. He won the All American Championship again later that same year, and he retired from the competition undefeated. While competing, Norris would go on to meet Bruce Lee, then known for the Green Hornet, and the two developed a friendship as well as training and working relationship up until Bruce Lee's death. In late August of 1969, Chuck Norris defended his World Championship title at the International Karate Championship, which featured competitors from most U.S. states and several countries. He retained the title. He won karate's Triple Crown for the most tournament victories of the year, and he was named Fighter of the Year by Black Belt magazine. Around this time, he made his acting debut on the Matt Helm spy film, The Wrecking Crew. In 1972, Chuck Norris acted as Bruce Lee's nemesis in the widely acclaimed martial arts film Way of the Dragon, which was retitled Return of the Dragon in its U.S. distribution. The film grossed over $5.3 million at the Hong Kong box office, beating previous records set by Bruce Lee's own films, The Big Boss and Fist of Fury, making it the highest-grossing film of 1972 in Hong Kong. The Way of the Dragon went on to gross an estimated $130 million worldwide. And the film is credited with launching him towards stardom. In 1973, Norris played a role in Jonathan Kaplan's movie called The Student Teachers. In 1974, actor Steve McQueen, who was his martial arts student and friend at the time, saw his potential and encouraged him to begin acting classes at MGM. That same year, he played the supporting role of the main antagonist and Lo Wei's Yellow-Faced Tiger. Norris played a powerful drug king in San Francisco, where he dominates the criminal world, including the police department. He is eventually challenged by a young police officer who stands up to the corruption. The film played theatrically in the United States in 1981 as a slaughter film in San Francisco. It was noticed that it was an older, low-budget film, announcing Norris as the lead. The film played as a double bill to other action and genre film. Now, the movie was described as a low-budget martial arts action film taking advantage of Norris's fame. In 1975, Norris wrote his first book, Winning Tournament Karate, on the practical study of competition training for any rank. It covers all phases of executing speedy attacks, conditioning, fighting, form drills, and one-step sparring techniques. Norris's first starring role was in 1977's Breaker, and he chose it after turning down offers to do several martial arts films. Norris decided that he wanted to do films that had a story where the action would take place when it is emotionally right, and the low-budget film turned out to be very successful. In 1978, Chuck Norris starred in Good Guys Wear Black. He considered it to be his first significant lead role. No studio wanted to release it, so Norris and his producers forewalled it, renting out theaters and taking whatever money came in from it. The film performed very well. It was shot on a $1 million budget, and it brought in over $18 million at the box office. Now, the following years of kung fu film imports from the Hong Kong action cinema during the 1970s, most notably Bruce Lee's films, followed by Bruce Plantation Flicks. Good Guys Wear Black launched Norris as the first successful homegrown martial arts star. And Good Guys Wear Black distinguished itself from earlier martial arts films by its distinctly American setting, characters, themes, and politics, a formula that Norris continued to develop with later on films that he was starring. In 1979, Norris starred in A Force of One. The film was developed while touring for Good Guys Wear Black again. No studio wanted to pick that up, but it outgrossed the previous film by making $20 million at the box office. In 1980, he released the film Octagon, and unlike his previous films, this time the studios were interested. American Cinema released and distributed it, and that made almost $19 million at the box office. In 1981, he starred in Steve Carver's film An Eye for an Eye, and in 1982, he had the lead role in the action horror film Silent Rage. It was his first film released by any major studio, Columbia Pictures. Shortly afterward, MGM gave him a 3-movie deal, and that same year they released Force Vengeance. Norris was unhappy with the direction that the studio wanted to take in the contract, and his contract would end up being canceled. In 1983, Chuck Norris made an appearance in the movie Lone Wolf McQuade with Orion Pictures and Cover directing. He plays a reckless but brave Texas Ranger who defeats an arms dealer played by David Carradine. And the film was a worldwide hit and a positive reception from movie critics. It was often compared to Sergio Leone's stylish spaghetti western films. The film became the inspiration for Norris's future hit TV show Walker Texas Ranger. Film critic Roger Ebert gave the film a 3.5-star rating, calling the character of J.J. McQuaid worthy of a film series and predicting the character would be a future classic, and it would be the first movie where Norris would wear his trademark beard that he would have throughout his career. In 1984, Norris starred in Joseph Zito's Missing in Action, the first of a series of prisoner of war rescue fantasies where he played Colonel James Braddock. It was produced by Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus and released under the Canon Films banner with which he had signed a multiple movie deal. Norris later dedicated these films to his younger brother Wayland, who was a private in the 101st Airborne Division, and he was killed. And his brother Wayland was killed in action in 1972 in Vietnam while on patrol in the defense of Fire Base Ripcord. The film was a huge success, and Norris became Cannon's most prominent star in the 1980s. And a lot of people considered The Code of Silence to be his best film to date. So in October of 1984, principal photography of Andrew Davis's Code of Silence started, and the film's complexity and dramatic depth marked a departure for Norris. The film is about a cop who's ostracized for refusing to support a corrupt cop who kills an innocent bystander while protecting the daughter of a mob boss. Now, Davis described Chuck Norris's work as easy to work with and very supportive, and it was released by Orion Pictures on May 3rd of 1985, and it received positive reviews, with critics praising its slick direction, strong performances, and engaging action. It was regarded as a standout in Norris's career, with many considering it to be his best film to date. And then he did the movie Delta Force in 1986, Missing in Action 2. I think there's 3 Missing in Action films. Um, so by 1990, Chuck Norris's films had collectively grossed over 500 million worldwide. By this time, he had drawn comparisons with both Bruce Lee and Clint Eastwood, sometimes called the blonde Bruce Lee for his martial arts action films, while his loner persona was compared to the Eastwood character Dirty Harry. Which Dirty Harry did you like? And that was Clint Eastwood's character. That same year, MGM acquired the Canon Films library, and Norris continued making films with his brother Aaron, who directed him in Delta Force 2, The Hitman, Sidekicks, Hellhound, Top Dog, and Forest Warrior. In 1993, he began shooting the action film series Walker Texas Ranger, which was one of his best known character roles to date. The television show was centered on a Sergeant Cordell Walker, played by Chuck Norris, who is a member of the Texas Rangers, a state level bureau of investigation, and is about his adventures fighting criminals with his partner James Trevette. And it aired from 1993 to 2001 on CBS, continued in syndication on other channels, notably the Hallmark Channel. Now, the show was very successful in the ratings, and throughout its run, ranking among the top 30 programs from 1995 to 1999, and ranking in the top 20 in both the 1995, 1996, and 1998 to 1999 seasons. In 1999, Chuck Norris produced and played Walker in a supporting role in the Walker Texas Ranger spinoff, Sons of Thunder, and then there was also a movie made about it too. He also did a couple made for TV. He also did some made for TV films. Norris starred as a secret agent in the CBS made-for-television film *The President's Man* and *The President's Man: Line in the Sand*, which came out. The first one came out in 2000, and the second one came out in 2002, respectively. And then he also appeared on. He also had a minor role in *Dodgeball*, a true underdog story. Norris plays himself as a judge during a dodgeball game, and described by critics as a raunchy comedy that delivers for many. In 2012, Chuck Norris appeared as a mercenary in the film *Expendables 2*, and which grossed more than $310 million worldwide. And then his wife, Gina, founded the C-Force Bottling Company after an aquifer was discovered on their Texas ranch. He also would become an ambassador for the car company called Fiat. Chuck Norris received many black belts. He had at the time of his death he had over 10. So he knew how to. So this motherfucker knew how to kick ass. Basically. Chuck Norris got married really young. He married his first wife, Diane, in 1958 when he was 18 and she was 17, and the two had been classmates at North High School, Torrance. After 30 years of marriage, they separated in 1988, and they finalized their divorce in 1989. And they had two sons together, a son named Mike, born in 1962, and a son named Eric, born in '65. Um, in 1998, Norris would marry his second wife, Gina, who was 23 years his junior. They met in 1997 while Norris was on a date with another woman, and the couple had fraternal twins born in 1901. And Norris also had a daughter, Dina, from an extramarital affair. While stationed in California during the service in the United States Air Force, he began seeing a woman named Joanna without disclosing that he was married to Holchek at that time. Norris and Dina met for the first time in 1990, and he publicly acknowledged her in the chosen four in his memoir Against All Odds. And Norris had 13 grandchildren to date as of 2017 from his kids. Chuck Norris was an outspoken Christian and the author of several Christian-themed books. He described his faith journey as a conscious turning point that would shape his personal priorities, including his views on family responsibility and any moral discipline. On April 22nd of 2008, he expressed his support for the intelligent design movement in a review of Ben Stein's Expelled for Townhall.com. Chuck Norris was a Baptist and a member of the Preston Wood Baptist Church and part of the Southern Baptist Convention in Dallas. Chuck Norris was a Republican and an outspoken conservative. He wrote a regular column for the far right on website called WorldNet Daily. During the 1980s, he did support Ronald Reagan. He did support Mike Huckabee's campaign in the 2008 Republican presidential primary, even though he lost. So on March 18th, Chuck Norris was rushed to the hospital in Hawaii after experiencing a medical emergency, and he died the next day at the age of 86. His family announced the following day, but with no cause of death being given. he did do a lot of philanthropy work, so he was known for that. So that is the end of our story thing with those two actors. Nicholas Brendon was also the guy I was talking about earlier, the guy from Criminal Minds. He was also an ordained minister, and he was there. And so Nicholas Brendon was an ordained minister who oversaw Paget Brewster's marriage, and Paget Brewster's marriage. Paget Brewster was also on the TV show Criminal Minds as the character Apprentice. And when she got married to her husband, Nicholas Brendon was the guy that wed them and basically read them what a minister would read, like saying, "Do you take this guy to be your lovely wedded husband, and do you take her to be your lovely wedded wife?" And then in sickness and health type shit. So that was that. Um, that is kind of the end of our story, a storyline here. Um, when I'm not doing my videos, I like to take walks. So before I did my live stream today, I took a walk outside. It is a little bit chilly out, but I did my little walk through the woods and I came back home, had my cup of coffee from Dunkin', and then just came back home and just decided I'm going to get this out the way. But I am a big fan of action movies. So whenever a famous actor dies, that's a martial arts star. Of course, I'm going to do a video about them. Um, but I hope to see you guys. So you guys can tune in next week. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this, or just give me recommendations on what videos you guys want me to put out. I will try to get to them as soon as I can. But make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this, and I'll see you next week.